The backlash to Amazon's Ring of Power series hasn't been surprising. They either were going to nail it from the start and create something people were loving the idea of, or they were going to completely miss the mark and disappoint millions of Tolkien fans around the world. And when they launched the newest teaser and some story information, we all knew this project was probably going to be a disaster. And Amazon's been raked across the coals over it. The new Super Bowl ad has completely been ratioed, and the social media reception's been terrible, and now there's even more information that's making fans worried. I have a few things to show off, but before we get into the topic at hand, if you enjoy the content that I create, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Follow me on social media like Twitter or mine so that you can see when my content is posted. And of course, if you do really enjoy the videos and the live streams that I create, please consider becoming a Dark Titan via Patreon for just $1 a month, or supporting the channel via YouTube memberships. All of the links are in the description, and of course, I do really appreciate all of the support. Starting with this Bounding into Comics article, it says the Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners admit they don't have the rights to the Silmarillion or unfinished tales. Of course, just another worry to add to the pile. It says the Lord of the Rings of Power showrunners admitted their show does not have a number of rights that depict events from the Second Age of the Lord of the Rings world. It says, speaking with Vanity Fair, Payne revealed that they only have the rights to the Fellowship of the Rings, the Two Towers, the Return of the King, the Appendices, and the Hobbit. He stated, "We have the rights solely to the Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, Return, Appendices, and Hobbit, and that is it. We do not have the rights to the Silmarillion, Unfinished Tales, the History of Middle-earth, or any of those other books." One wonders why in the world someone would endeavor to bring to live action the Second Age when you don't have the rights to the key materials that document the Second Age. We've known for a while that they didn't have specific rights, but we didn't know what they had the rights to, what they didn't have the rights to, what characters they could tell stories about. We had no idea, and to a certain degree we still don't, because they're still being pretty vague. But it sounds like they went into this wanting to make a series about the Second Age when they had very, very little when it comes to rights regarding the Second Age, which is really surprising. I think that the reason why they still tried to go ahead with it is because it's not like they want to remake any of the movies that have already been created, because if they tried to make a series telling the same stories, people would be furious. This show would never get off the ground. There would be people who would be so angry at them for trying to retell these masterpieces that have already been made. People would be absolutely livid with them, and they would be roasted even more than they already have been. So yes, on one hand, I do understand they wanted to tell a different story, but if you don't have the rights to certain characters and certain details, why would you even waste your time trying? It says, well, there's a version of everything we need for the Second Age in the books we have rights to. Yes, a version, and if they don't have rights to specific characters or specific details, of course, they just plan to twist it around and change it and make it modern. As long as we're painting within those lines and not egregiously contradicting something we don't have rights to, there's a lot of leeway and room to tell some of the best stories that Tolkien ever came up with, even though we know that's not what they're worried about. They don't want to truly tell some of the amazing stories Tolkien wrote. They want to take stories Tolkien wrote and twist them around and shove their own narratives into them and change them and make them for modern day audiences. They have already admitted that they're changing around the timeline, they're changing around events, they're changing around characters. They're not sticking to Tolkien's work here, which is why everyone is so furious at you guys for trying to make this series. Despite the show not arriving on Prime Video until September, the show's first trailer and initial images first published by Vanity Fair reveals that they have already egregiously contradicted those books. They turned Galadriel into a commander of the Northern armies. They were changing things like the way that the dwarven women look. I mean, there is a number of things we already know that they're changing. And of course, to absolutely no one's surprise, the trailer has been completely ratioed. This is on the Amazon Prime Video UK account. It's got 22,000 likes to over 40,000 1,000 dislikes. People in the comment section are absolutely roasting this teaser trailer, saying things like evil cannot create anything new, they can only corrupt. As someone who loves Tolkien's work, I'm really disappointed because it just looks like generic fantasy. It looks like a Game of Thrones light. I know a lot of people are saying it looks like a Skyrim live action. I have to agree, I just feel like it looks too generic to be Tolkien's work, because Tolkien's work is so rich and unique and original in so many ways, and it's like they just dumbed it down. And we already know why, though. This was posted months and months ago, almost a year ago. Amazon says its Lord of the Rings prequel series needs to appeal to a giant global audience. Now, I completely understand that they spent over $1 billion on this series. They need to make a lot of money for it to be considered successful. But at the same time, you need to make a series that appeals to the people who initially wanted it. If you're losing the people who watched the previous movies, yes, you have room to grow new audiences, but at the same time, you're going to lose out on such a huge chunk of the market that would actually watch this. There's millions and millions of people out there who love Lord of the Rings, who love Tolkien's work. It's why his work was so successful. So why would you try to stray off that path and create something new? Why would you want to try to do that? It's not going to work. It's not going to get you views. It's not going to get you subscriptions. It's only going to gain you a disaster in this case. I do think that this show is probably going to release and be a disaster. I would love for it to come out and be amazing and successful, and for it to be the Lord of the Rings prequel series we've always wanted, but I highly doubt it's going to be that. And I also wanted to reference this other article that recently came out. It says J.R.R. Tolkien torched a Lord of the Rings film treatment for being treated carelessly, recklessly, and showing no evident signs of any appreciation of what it is all about. So yes, back in June 1958, J.R.R. Tolkien himself torched a film treatment for an adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, and since then, obviously, we have gotten the Hobbit movies, which a lot of people have been critical of, but we also got the amazing Lord of the Rings films, and I do think that he would be proud of those. They did so much justice to a series. They were absolutely fantastic, and those were amazing. You could see the appreciation within them, the people behind the scenes who wanted it to be successful but be accurate as well, and unfortunately, I really don't think that we're seeing that with Amazon's series now. Would Tolkien approve of the changes they're making to his work in the Rings of Power? Probably not, and a lot of fans are furious over that. He would probably be furious over that, and that's what's the most disappointing. It's not like they wanted to make it something really accurate, really amazing. I mean, they had as much money as they wanted to throw at this project. It's the largest TV series of all time, and they've completely squandered this opportunity that they were given. But that's all that I really had to talk about in this video. If you enjoyed it, please make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.